Played out because yet again, and look, all political parties, when they're in power, do this. They try and flood the Lords to make sure that the cards are stacked in their favour. And clearly, Sir Keir Starmer has done this. But what about the fact that Reform haven't been given the opportunity to have any peers? Do you think that's OK because they only happen to have 5 MPs? Or do you think that that is not particularly in line given their political prominence and the fact that they could potentially form the next government?
Good day and welcome back to British Report. Right, stop whatever you are doing because the political foundations of this government are not just shaking. They are collapsing like a cheap garden shed in a storm. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer is facing fresh abject humiliation and a wave of panic is sweeping through the government benches because the King of the North, Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham, is reportedly poised for a swift return to Westminster, explicitly aimed at staging an audacious leadership coup. And the best part, Starmer is so weak, so politically cornered by his own plummeting polls and the devastating rise of Reform UK, that blocking this move would be seen as a fatal admission of terror. The entire plot was spectacularly exposed by news hosts who forced Labour officials to deny the undeniable, that the party is now on the brink of a full-scale civil war, barely 18 months into its term. This isn't just a threat, this is a fully operational coup. And the single person who is terrified out of his wits is the Prime Minister himself. Quick favour, if you are glued to this jaw-dropping political drama and want the inside track on the backstabbing, the chaos and the outright panic gripping the Labour Party, hit that subscribe button. Over 92% of viewers haven't yet. It's free! Takes a second and means the world to us. Thanks if you did. Now back to the show, because this story reads like a particularly brilliant season finale of a political thriller, and Starmer is currently tied to the tracks. Let us start with the rival, the smooth-talking, famously ambitious Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham. Long viewed as Starmer's chief rival, a political headache that never quite went away, Burnham has now openly signalled his national ambitions. In a recent, brilliantly timed interview on ITV News, Mr. Burnham was asked about a bigger role on the national stage, and his reply was the equivalent of loading a cannon. If the call came, I'm not going to turn away from it. Now, in Westminster Code, that is not a denial. That is a 5-alarm fire. That is not a hint. That is a job application submitted on national television. It confirmed every single rumour swirling in the tea rooms and corridors of power. The reality, as brutally exposed by the subsequent reports, is that to mount a credible leadership bid, the King of the North needs to return to the House of Commons, a requirement that his supporters insist is now imminent. Why the rush? Because the clock is ticking and the political atmosphere has become toxic for the incumbent. Labour is not just in a slump, it is facing political oblivion. National opinion polls show Labour trailing Nigel Farage's Reform UK by double digits nationally, with one recent Survation poll showing Reform leading with Our Text 26% of titles to Labour's Our Text 28% and the Conservatives on Tar Text 18%. This unprecedented collapse in the governing party's support is fueling backbench panic over the prospects of an electoral disaster, especially in the North and Midlands, where Starmer's soft left base is leaking support to the Greens and his traditional working class base is flocking to Reform. The bombshell, the detail that sent Labour officials scrambling to TV studios was the report that Mr. Burnham's strategists have already drawn up a short list of North West seats where a snap by-election could be arranged. The key target, the Gorton and Denton seat currently held by suspended Labour MP Andrew Gwynn. Now this is where the plot thickens into a thick political stew. Mr. Gwynn has been sitting as an independent since he was sacked and suspended in February 2025 following the revelation of offensive messages, including racist and sexist comments, he had written in a WhatsApp group. While Mr. Gwynn has recently denied any plan to stand down before the May 2026 local elections, the sheer desperation of Burnham's allies is palpable. A Labour MP backing Mr. Burnham openly admitted to the Mail on Sunday, "It's happening. We are on the brink of securing a seat which is likely to come free shortly and where the polls say Andy would beat Reform." The choice of Gorton and Denton is strategic. While Gwynn won it in 2024, the seat is projected in some polls to be a toss-up between Labour and Reform UK, showing just how vulnerable Labour's so-called heartlands are. By installing Burnham in a safe-ish northern seat, the Rebels achieve two things. First, they bring their challenger back to Westminster, and second, they prove that only the King of the North can stop the reform tide that is currently washing away Starmer's support. The timeline is a dagger pointed directly at Starmer's back. A by-election before or alongside the May 2026 local elections, which are widely expected to deliver heavy Labour losses and thus provide the perfect trigger for a full-scale leadership crisis. The most humiliating aspect for the Prime Minister is his total political paralysis. Starmer could block Mr Burnham's selection through the party's National Executive Committee, but party sources confirm that this would be seen as a damaging admission of weakness and fear. It would essentially confirm that he is terrified of a fair fight. Starmer is trapped. Allow the challenge and risk being ousted. Or block the challenge and appear weak, dictatorial and utterly petrified of the competition. The chaos has spread. Other potential challengers are now openly circling, including Health Secretary Wes Streeting, who has reportedly been critical of the government's technocratic and overly cautious style, a thinly veiled attack on Starmer's lack of vision. Even former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, often seen as Starmer's political attack dog, is rumoured to be considering a joint ticket with Burnham and remains in close contact with his camp. The government is haemorrhaging support, the backbenchers are panicking, and the entire leadership project, barely off the ground, is teetering on the brink of collapse. The persistent claims of a coup, which Starmer dismisses as a distraction, merely underscore the deepening toxic divisions just 18 months into the government's term. Every time a news host or a reporter raises the issue of the coup, Starmer collapses into platitudes, demonstrating that he has lost control of his party, his message and his own future. Thank you so much for watching.